He also professes and continuously talks about how the world doesn't care about him. The world doesn't care about him. Why should I care about the world?
We don't care about this world because the world don't care about AC. Do you get it? So
Yeah,
we
but
meet each other.
that's not a good way to live, because then you just always
So
seem
how
angry.
do you expect me to live? It's not. I don't
that's what I'm
always seem
saying,
angry
maybe-
because
Why should I care about these people? They don't care about me. You know, they don't. The world just doesn't care about AC. Now, that particular sentence, I feel like, was probably one of the most important sentences that he's probably said in this entire interview, because it directly, intrinsically links and high key correlates with the PTSD and the trauma.
From like mental illness.
absolutely PTSD, depression,
Oh, you do?
post-traumatic stress disorder.
And have you ever got help?
Help from where? No, there's no such thing as help. What is help?
Why would he even believe that the world care about him when the world hasn't really cared about him when he grew up? He grew up without his parents. He grew up with the main attachments that he needs. He grew up without his mother in a completely different country, confused, between aunties and uncles continuously. Obviously, he comes to the conditioning and the association that people don't care about you because here I am being sided here, sided here, sided here. So why would the world care about me? I can do whatever I want. It doesn't care about me. When was he shown that form of affectionate and the stuff that he needed when he was a young child? He did not have those attachments. Then he got shoved into prison. Things went really left in there, I would assume, as prison life is. And that kind of mentality kind of developed and grew and multiplied and multiplied and multiplied, where he felt that the world doesn't care about me. So why would I need to care about the world? It's just a very sad interview, I feel like, this entire process. That sentence, that key sentence, I feel like was just directly a wide kind of opener for what actually is going on within his mind. He doesn't really care. He does what he wants to do. He trolls, he likes it, he enjoys it, gets a kick out of it, dopamine receptors, whatever you want to call it, because he knows that, the world does not care about him, because the world has never really cared about him. His entire environment when he grew up didn't really show him the attention that he needed, that every child definitely needs. And it allows him to develop that mentality, which I feel like it definitely is a crystal clear kind of correlation. So Zeze Millz now interviews AC, and it feels like this interview got very heated very quickly.
People like the way they think and the perception about AC. I find it so
but that's
sick.
your
That's
fault,
why.
though.
That's why. It's not my fault. How dare you? How dare you
That
say
is-
that's my fault?
it is
Do
your
you know me?
fault. Yeah, but this
Do
is
you
what you
know me?
portray online.
What? Exactly. All right. Cool.
Hey guys, it's Murad Murali. Hope you guys are doing well today. If you haven't already, click that button for daily and consistent content. Head over to my Instagram, Murad_Murali. Do follow me on there and subscribe. Now again, Zeze Millz is back at it with another interview, and I feel like this is so good for this new Trend Central channel. They're very clever for doing this because they are optimizing their channel to be used at the best potential by putting everything on this platform, especially with Zeze Millz, getting these notorious kind of content creators, influencers, whatever you want to call them, on this platform to do these kind of interviews will definitely attract viewers, attract attention, will attract engagement. So I feel like from that respect, I have to put my hands up to them because that is a really good creative idea. So of course last week she had Castillo. This week AC was interviewed, and it seemed that this interview got very, very heated. Now before we get into this, a quick disclaimer: please do not send hate to anybody involved in this video, which obviously includes AC and Zeze Millz. This is just a video to kind of comment on and the observations made throughout this interview, and that we can all discuss in this kind of safe kind of video comment section, and just call it a day and carry on with our lives. Kind of interviews, they are good in a way that they do humanize the individual that is being interviewed. And I had no recollection or idea that even AC even had a very rough life. I kind of gathered a sense that might have been a possible conclusion, but I didn't know that was obviously taking place. And he obviously expresses that he did have a bad childhood in relation to not being brought up from his parents. He was moving from country to country, literally city to city, from Congo and Africa to Paris, to France, sorry, I assume Paris, and then to London when he was around age 9. So to have that kind of disparity of continuously moving and changing your environments, not having your mother and your father around you, definitely it can be very impactful later on in life, because you aren't developing those important attachments that you need to, which therefore doesn't allow you to build and develop proper attachments within your adult life. I feel like there is a lot of childhood trauma here that's being carried on. Alongside this, in addition, he did touch on the fact that he obviously has been in prison for a while. When you are in prison as a child ish, and you are going from your adolescence into your adulthood, and you are spending that majority of that time span within prison, it can sometimes stunt a lot of growth, whether it be mental growth, physical growth, emotional growth, financial growth.
Trust me, I shoot back, I fire back bullets. You're catching with my words. My words are poison and venomous. I kill anybody.
With your words, not your hands, obviously.
Anything.
Whatever you want to put it as, I feel like it definitely can stunt your mental health growth as well. I wasn't I don't know, I felt personally very hard to watch this interview because I feel like, I just feel like the memes that they inserted within this video just were not appropriate. I feel like it just isn't something that, he's talking about his life, he's talking about his struggles, and yes, he does go off on a tangent here, there, but he is talking about childhood trauma and just difficulties in his life. And I feel like putting memes within certain places when he does so just seems to be a bit inappropriate. It shows that there isn't really enough respect for him. And I feel like, granted, he can be somebody who goes off and pisses people off and irritates them, but if you are interviewing somebody, you have to respect them regardless, because you have invited them to be interviewed. Therefore, they're coming into your environment. Therefore, there should be some baseline of respect. And I feel like that really wasn't there when it comes to stuff like that.
36. Do you not think you're a bit too old to be on the gram arguing with people on live?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Because it's fun.
You just like to antagonize people, don't you?
Absolutely, I love it.
It was just very hard to watch this because I feel like interventions are needed from that kind of respect, and it wasn't something that I found funny or humorous. There were at times where he was mentioning Fredo, mentioning Burna Boy, the beef that he has with them, and how he's irritated with them, but that's not something that really intrigued me. What intrigued me is the fact that he would occasionally go on and begin ranting, and when he does his rants, they seem to be very erratic, as if he's in a state of confusion.
My shit. Oh, this is social media. Says 666. Let's meet up. You want to meet me? You don't want me to say, I'll pray for you. Tell your mom to pray for your grandmother die. You telling me, man? Gangster shit. My shit is scary, man. My shit is scary.
And he does not know how to stop. It reminds me of secondary school kind of state of mentality. You're year 9, year 8, you're beefing the olders, the youngers, whatever you want to call them. It's something like this kind of childish mentality, and I feel like perhaps it really hasn't elevated or growth because of the life that he has lived, because of the lack of transitions that he has made. And it seems that this is probably perhaps a reason for why things has taken place in this kind of way, from just the way he speaks, his verbiage, the way he replies back, the way he claps back as well. He talks about how he's never actually hit women, but then in the same sentence says that he actually slapped his cousin. He does sometimes as an exception. So again, kind of like hypocritical behavior, but I feel like he isn't really aware of that, and that kind of lack of awareness is what I really want to get to the root to. This kind of lack of awareness perhaps leads to psychotic kind of features. I don't know, it comes to me in that kind of respect. What I do hold him up to is that he actually did admit to having a lot of PTSD, and he actually does admit to having depression. Now that isn't easy for anybody to do, period. Whether you be a girl, a guy, it doesn't matter. It's not hard. It's very hard, for you to sit there and admit that you have been diagnosed with mental health issues, mental health diseases, and how they can definitely impact you as an individual. I just don't feel like it's that suitable to have him on a interview kind of platform when this individual has admitted that he does have depression, that he does have PTSD. It becomes almost kind of like a humorous state, as if he's on like a little table and everybody's laughing at him, watching him for entertainment purposes. It seems to me a bit bleak, and I just feel like from that respect, I don't think an interview was needed. But of course, AC is somebody who will attract viewers because he is somebody who does get angry and shout and upset. People just want to watch that. So from that respect, I can see why they did it, but I just don't feel like it was entirely suitable. But to have PTSD from not being brought up from your parents, some stuff may have happened in Congo, in France, in England, the transitions, not being able to fit in, being bullied at school, and then you go to the prisons, and Lord knows what happens in prisons. So much goes on. It can be a very hard life to live in prisons, all that attached to you, and you are carrying it within later on in your life until the day you die. It's that bad. Childhood trauma is so severe you don't even know it. It's like carbon monoxide seeps in you, and you don't even know what it's doing to you, and then you're carrying it on later on in life, and you haven't been able to develop because you don't know how to do so. He also reflects that having any form of therapy is complete nonsense, that he doesn't want to be drugged up. Now, I get it from that drugged up perspective. I can see what he's saying from that, because I personally have worked in psychiatric hospitals with a lot of schizophrenic patients abroad, all over the world. And when I do go to these psychiatric hospitals, and I do work and shadow with these psychiatrists and these clinical psychologists, a lot of them in these kind of provinces in the world, they like to drug up their patients. That's all they like to do. They like to sedate.
Section like Trevor. Get fed with fucking medicine every 2 seconds. I'm not a guinea pig. Do you understand? There's no such thing as help.
Then they're sitting there, with their pupils kind of dilated, and they're walking around kind of zombified, and you're thinking that this is not a productive way for them to be treated because they have a mental health disease. This isn't the way. So I can see what AC is saying from that perspective, and I can gain from clarity from that. But for him to be, my interest is the fact that he talks about how people put out negative perceptions in the world of him, or negative perceptions continuously, and if you put out negativity, you'll get that back, which I agree with. But in the same stance, he's also putting out negative perception to receiving mental health help. Peep that.
You as a counsellor, you haven't seen my life. You haven't seen the eyes on my...
Yeah, but sometimes
Yeah,
it's
you
good
can
to
talk.
talk about it.
I push that out through my music, and I'm very selective.
And that's what I find very interesting, where he would say, you know, I don't want counseling, it's nonsense. Well, what am I going to do? Talk to somebody, talk to them about what, etc., etc., etc. And when you have this stance and you do not want to seek help, it's only going to get worse anyway in terms of your mental health. It's only going to, you know, depreciate. And that in itself I found to be very interesting. I just feel like this interview, you know, humanized him. I feel like this is what they do, interviews in general. In terms of, you know, people are like, oh, you know, why are you analyzing this person? You know, who are you to analyze them? And I find that stance also very interesting, because people don't actually understand or realize that a basic human tendency for us is that we like to analyze other people, especially on a platform, on a TV platform, on a YouTube platform, whatever you want to call it. These people have consciously decided and willingly decided to be interviewed, to be put on a platform that everybody is going to watch them. So everybody is going to analyze, want to know what's going on, what's the real reason. It's just a basic human tendency that a lot of us like to do, some more than others, obviously because some people have careers in this whole field. But I do find that to be very interesting when people are like, oh, you know, why is everybody analyzing him? People should leave him alone. It's just a basic human tendency. We all like to analyze. We all want to know. We want to know what's going on. Maybe not with AC, but with somebody else in our lives. We all want to know why somebody acts the way they do. It's such an interesting point of view. Why does someone act like this? Where do these behaviors come from? What was rooted in this? What took place? What were the events? This is what I feel like it was. My main critique for this interview was that it became tit for tat, and I feel like Zeze Mills was entertaining this kind of tit for tat kind of behavior, and that should have not have taken place, because I feel like it becomes a bit childish. You know, that kind of mentality of an interview should not have been taking place at all. It should have been completely formal. Yes, it can be very difficult to retain that kind of behavior when you're with somebody who wants to say stuff like this, but it became very tit for tat, very childish tit for tat, back and forth. Both of them are arguing about X, Y, Z, and I just feel like that made me lose interest in the interview. Like, I didn't come here to see that. Let me know your thoughts on when it comes to this video. What are your thoughts? Do you guys agree with some stuff that I say or not? Do subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are. Subscribe. Head over to my Instagram, Murad_Morali, and I'll catch you guys soon for another video.